Hi everybody, so in this video I wanted to kind of focus on the background feature that we have, and this is found over in the design tab over here where it says format background. What this will allow you to do is change one or many or all of your slides backgrounds to something completely different than what the theme is giving us. All right, so right now the theme is giving us, what you see here. We can make it so where we can actually change the color back here, and we can do a number of different things. We can do color, we can do patterns, we can do pictures, do all kinds of things, and we can apply it not only to one slide but to many slides as well. So let me just give you an idea how this works. So I'm just going to go over to slide number 2. It really doesn't matter which slide you go to, unless of course the slide that you want to change is specifically a particular slide, then go to it, obviously, right? But in our example here, it really doesn't matter where we go. So I click on the number 2 here, go over to the design tab, go over here to format background, a little panel will pop up. Now in this particular theme, the background happens to be a gradient fill. And a gradient just means that it's going like from one color to another. So as you can see here, we're going kind of like from that gold yellow to kind of a gray, okay? And you can kind of see that over here because we're on the gradient fill, and over here we've got the two different gradient stops. These are like the two sections that have the color. So on this one, it's more of the orange, right? That's what we have there. So when we're on that one, you can see the color here is of that, what you see up here at the top, all right? This one here, click onto that and then click onto here, then you can kind of see that it's that gray one there. Now you have a lot of choices here to work with, but we're going to start out first of all with the preset gradients. All right, that's this one here. You click onto that and it gives you coloring that pretty much matches what you have as your overall theme. So you've got the oranges and the grays and the yellow and so forth. So you can actually maybe click on this one here, and there we've got the gradient coming from the bottom. So we've got the real orange, that's what you see here at the bottom, and then you've got a little bit less than that in the midsection. Then you've got in the top section here even lighter than that, all right? And what's crazy about this is that you can actually, if you say, well, I kind of like this, but I don't like the intensity of the orange, you can click onto here, and you can actually then tell it that you want to make it maybe a little bit less bright, so you can actually go down just a little bit further here and you'll see the brightness. And as I bring this to the right, you can kind of see how that brightens it up and gets rid of the color, kind of desaturates it. Whereas you go the other way, it does the other, but it gets to a point where it can then turn like completely black, right? It's because you're turning the brightness down to nothing. So you've got that to play with. You've got the transparency to play with. You can kind of do that as well. That will kind of affect it. And you also have the position on here, and you can actually use this to move that position back and forth. But it's probably a lot easier just taking this one right here, and as you drag that over, you can kind of see how that color kind of goes up there. This is something where you could actually spend probably many, many minutes, if not maybe an hour, just playing with this to try to figure out exactly, what color you want to go with, right? Now, this particular one we picked is kind of set as a linear, so we can actually click up here and make it radial. We can make it rectangular, go back in there and make it some sort of like a path in a way. So a lot of different ways you can make it. I'll just keep it kind of linear there. And now I've got it linear, and you'll see the angles at 45 degrees, right? So I could bring that down if I wanted to, or down to that so it goes vertical, or bring it all the way to like 90. Now it's half and half. So a lot of stuff you can do. But if I go back to the preset and say, okay, I'm gonna go with something else, then that kind of changes everything, and I don't have to go back and try to change things back to the way they were. I just pick something else. Now if I go to the type here and I change that to radial, kind of more as like a circle here, and then all the choices I have here will be along those same lines, see? So you can go back and forth as much as you want with that. Now, at some point you're going to say, okay, that's what I like. And then you have to kind of make the determination, would you like to just do it to that slide there? or would that look good on everything, right? So you go over here and you click on to apply all, and that will then change everything. So each one of them will have that same coloring. So you're kind of modifying your theme a little bit by overriding it with these types of settings. So pretty wild. And always keep in mind too that in this case we can't go in there and reset the background, but we could go up here and we could hit undo and undo it back to where we were before this all happened. And then I can go back over here and I can see I still have it there. I can still hit the undo and eventually get it back to where we were. But on this one though, because it's just one slide, I can actually just say reset background and I'm back to square one. Now aside from the gradient, we also have the solid fill. How exciting, right? Pick one color, so you click on the solid fill, you got the one color there, you can make it transparent and kind of lighten it up a little bit, so that's your solid color. Not that exciting. Now the other thing we can do, we can also do the pattern. I'm not a big fan of these, but you know, a few of them might look okay, but overall, I don't know if you really want to go with that or not. Now, what you can do here, which is kind of neat, is the foreground and the background. So you can actually change the darker lines, and which are the pattern itself, which is this here, change that to, let's say, a light green, and I can go to here and I can change the background to, let's say, black. Doesn't look too good there. So we might change that to a little bit lighter color, all right, so maybe blue, something like that, see. But overall, I mean, it's up to you, obviously, what you do with this. Now, the other thing you can do also is you can actually put a picture back there. So if we click on a picture or text fill, all right, so you click onto that, and you either have the textures that you can work with, and these textures date back decades, okay? They haven't changed this whatsoever. They haven't added anything new. They even have like the 1970s style paneling color here, right? So you do stuff like that. You also have the infamous fossil fish there. You've probably seen that in some people's presentations. So if the textures don't float your boat, what you can do is you can actually go to get a picture from your filing system. So if I clicked on a file, all right, and I'll go over to my desktop where I've got some pictures here. I'll go to my class files here. I got all my pictures here. So I can go in there, I can say, well, maybe something like, maybe the world map or something like that. We could do something like that. Click on that, hit insert, and there that is, right? And then what you can do with that is you can actually make it a little bit more transparent so it's not overpowering your presentation there, right? So you got that there. Now with most of these backgrounds, you can also kind of offset it a little bit and kind of move it back. Well, actually, let me back up. What you can do, not only with this, but also with the pattern and the gradient and the solid, you can also hide your graphic. So like in this situation, the graphic that's giving me the little sunshine guys there is kind of covering up part of my map. So if I go over here where it says hide background graphics, that kind of pulls everything off and does that for me. Otherwise, what you'd have to do is go into like a picture editor, kind of squeeze the picture a little bit so that it would fit better on that smaller width area. All right, so the other option that you have as well would be to, instead of hiding it, go ahead over here in the offset. Now we could offset it to the right. Now if I do the offset to the right and I bring that down, see how it kind of pulls that over. So I maybe could do something like this and get it so where, okay, I'll cut off a little bit of this, I'll cut a little bit of that off, kind of keep it even and all that. I can also do it from the bottom as well. I can hit the down arrow on this one, kind of bring it down, or I can bring it up. So I'm kind of like stretching it in a way in this case, right? So I got the bottom offset, and then of course, if I did do it from the right, oop, going the wrong way there. If I squeeze it the other way now, I can do something like that, all right? And then on this one, I can squeeze it like this and kind of change it that way without having to use like a picture editor. So do something like that, maybe bring this offset a little bit back up here a little bit so it's not over my header there or my footer. So a little bit like that. That's not too bad. So you can, I think I can live with that. And again, just like before, we have the option of applying it to everything. So if I click the apply all, then all the slides get it. Not bad. And what's also kind of interesting, if let's say I want to add a new slide, so I go back into home, all right, and I go over here and I tell it I want to do a new slide, I don't know, title and content, whatever. That new slide still has that background in it because that apply all is not only to the current, but anything new that gets added on as well. So you've got that capability too. Now, let me just show you one other thing, or a couple more things, but let's go back to another slide that has something. Okay, so I can go over to this next one over here, and I can go to the artistic effects, and I've got all this in here. So I've got all these other kind of settings that I can do here. So if I went maybe with this one here, more of an outline-ish looking thing, I can do that, kind of a pencil-ish looking look to it. So what we had done in previous videos where we were applying those artistic effects to the photograph, we're able to do it here as well to this one too. So you've got that. You've got different options here as well. And another one we've got here, just to go one more here, we've got the picture corrections. So we can actually go in here and we can kind of brighten it up a little bit, like that. Or bring it back down a little bit, make it a little bit darker. All right, we got the contrast, you can mess with that. The picture color, all right. Now the saturation right now, it says it's at 100%. Now if I start increasing that, you can kind of see how, well, I'll just do it this way. So I increase that. I don't know if it really makes much of a difference on this one. Doesn't look like it, but in other situations it might look pretty good. All right, now if I want to maybe just get back to what I had because I've really messed this thing up, I'll just say reset the background. That'll get it back to where it was. And then maybe I'll go here and I'll do the saturation and see if this makes any difference now. So still doesn't do much. All right, so I give up. All right, you got presets here, which, you know, I guess you could maybe go with this one here, make it a little bit darker, but overall that's it. And then of course if you said, okay, now I love that, so I'll just go ahead and apply it to all. So now all your slides will be exactly that same way. Okay. Now aside from all that, next to our format background, they also have this designer with the design ideas. I'm not a real big fan of this, but it might be worth a shot here and there. You click onto that, and what it does, it gives you other ways of maybe laying out the slide. So in this case, it ends up creating kind of like a double border here, puts the business concept inside of that, all right, and kind of pushes it around. I think that might be kind of a disaster for most of my layouts on my slides here, but if I were to click onto that, you can kind of see that change. Now if I go ahead and I say apply to all right, and I go back to here, you can kind of see how it doesn't really change it for those other ones in there. So what you'd have to do is click onto that one and then say, okay, now maybe I'll go to here, I'll do that same thing. But now see what's going to happen, you do that, it really kind of messes everything up. So it really, I think it drastically does major overall bad things to your presentation. So I'm just going to go ahead and hit undo a few times there and get it back to where we were. And I'll close that up. All right. So hopefully this will help you with what you're doing with your presentation. It's a nice little sideline to kind of tweak what you already thought was a really good looking overall theme and just make it a step better maybe. So appreciate you watching, and we'll see you in the next video. Take care.